Hello, in this short video, we will study Indonesian timber. We shall discuss how it impacts the country's economy, what the pros and cons of using such a resource are, and what is being done to solve these problems.
Indonesia is made up of over 17,000 islands. It is located in Southeast Asia. It is the world's fourth most populous country. Indonesia is still developing in many ways. Its wealth is unequally distributed. That is why it has the world's 16th highest GDP per capita, but is still considered an LEDC.
Indonesia has over 120 million acres of forest area, 8 million of which are solely dedicated to timber logging, thus making wood products the country's principal source of revenue over the last 3 decades. In 1970, in order to gain economical profit, the government passed a decree allowing people to invest in forestry sectors.
From then to 2000, the Indonesian government had been in charge of forest management in a way that promoted deforestation. Over this period of time, various decrees and acts were passed, with less and less restriction for timber exporters. In early 2001, the Ministry of Forestry, along with other environmentally concerned organizations, took over Indonesia's forest management and passed several ecologically protective acts, including one extremely impactful to Indonesia's economy, the ban of timber export from the 8th of October 2001 onwards.
This, of course, led to a multidimensional crisis, as Indonesia was losing a major source of income. As the Indonesian government was no longer in charge of forest products, they began to illegally export timber behind the Ministry of Forestry's back, particularly to the UK. In addition, all records of timber exports over the last 5 years have been lost. They used to be sent to Jakarta, the capital, but through decentralization, the process in which people and industry move from urban centers to outlying districts, they were lost track of. While the Ministry of Jakarta is trying to find these, no new records have been made, mainly due to lack of staff and poor motivation. This makes it much harder to prove to what extent Indonesia is and has been exploiting its rainforests.
Over the last dozen years, Indonesia's economy has been falling because of this, and the Ministry of Forestry, now in charge of forest management in Indonesia, has been passing more laws trying to stop illegal lumber exports once and for all and save Indonesia's precious rainforests. Meeting Dr. Paul Gellert, Ph.D. Dr. Paul Gellert is a professor at the University of Tennessee. He studies Indonesia's natural resources and has written a dissertation on Indonesia's timber. Dr. Paul Gellert, thank you so much for sparing some of your time to answer our questions.
Our first question for you is, how much deforestation do you believe is still occurring since the ban?
Hard to tell. There is dispute about legal logging. MOF says about 500,000 acres of deforestation per year, but Greenpeace says higher, although there continues to be tensions around defining legality.
Timber export represented quite a high percentage of the country's economy. Do you believe it was a good idea to ban something the country was so dependent on?
The 2001 ban on timber exports, really still an exorbitant export tax, was a reinstatement of policy since 1985. The policy was to ban raw log exports in order to support the development of downstream processing. Basically, that meant a subsidy for the plywood industry. Although resource economist Repetto called it negative value added, it represented a national development success for Indonesian government and industrialists like Bob Hazen, who really led the ban. How different it would have been for others to continue exporting raw logs is hard to say.
Do you believe timber export is ever going to be legalized again?
No, I really do not think that Indonesia will reopen legal exports of logs.
Thank you so much, Dr. Paul Gellert. It was really nice to meet you.
Your answers were very valuable to our presentation. Thank you and goodbye.
You're very welcome, and goodbye.
In conclusion, despite the MOF's effort to stop deforestation, we can see that Indonesia's tropical deforestation rate is still the world's second highest after Brazil, and it represented 17% of the world's deforestation in 2005, so deforestation is still a major problem.
This graph represents the different HDIs. The yellow line is the world's HDI, the blue line is the Eastern Pacific countries' HDI, and the red line is the medium, and then this green line is Indonesia. So we can see that it has always been under the world HDI and the Eastern Pacific countries HDI, but from 2001 onward, it is sinking below the medium. This is because the HDI has been highly influenced by the MOF's decision to ban timber exports because people have been losing their jobs and it's just in general bad for the country's economy.
On the whole, based on our interview with Paul Gellert and our research, we do not believe that timber export could have saved Indonesia from poverty. We do believe that the MOF had made the right decision to ban timber export.
Although it came at a very heavy price, it led to people losing their jobs, therefore creating a dip in the HDI of the country. But long term, it is more important to save Indonesia's rainforest. This is because Indonesia is a developing country, so it has many sources of income, and the ban of timber export did not affect the economy that much, but it did help the rainforest greatly.
There are two ways to manage timber export. You can manage the rainforest sustainably and therefore have a steady but not very impactful income, or you can manage it the way Indonesia's rainforests were managed for years. This means quick profit but at great cost, the total loss of rainforests. Now that the MOF has decided to ban timber export, it does not mean that the country cannot still use it. It can trade timber within the country and attract tourists with their healthy rainforests.